You ever watch someone's career unfold in real time and feel like you're witnessing a slow motion PR disaster? Like every move they make somehow makes things worse, and yet the industry keeps doubling down, insisting, no, this is the one, she's the future. That's what it felt like watching Rachel Zegler's rise and fall in Hollywood. A star who was supposed to be the next big thing, but who never quite connected with the public. Not because she lacked talent, but because the entire rollout felt, for lack of a better term, forced. Today, we're diving into how Rachel Zegler went from Spielberg's Cinderella story to a case study in how not to manufacture a movie star. And this isn't just about internet trolls or Twitter drama. This is about audience psychology, media overexposure, and what happens when Hollywood tries to skip the part where the audience actually falls in love with someone. Rachel Zegler's story starts like a fairy tale. In 2018, Steven Spielberg announced an open casting call for his remake of Westside Story. Thousands of young women submitted audition tapes. Among them was a high school junior from New Jersey who had just played Maria in her school's production the year before. She submitted footage either from that high school performance or her YouTube channel, depending on which version of the story you believe, and somehow it landed in the right hands. And just like that, she was cast as Maria in a $100 million Spielberg film. No agent, no film credits, just raw talent and a camera. It was the kind of discovery story Hollywood loves to tell. And at first, it seemed like the gamble had paid off. She won a Golden Globe, she was on every red carpet, she was being hailed as the next great leading lady. But even then, the cracks were starting to show. One of the big selling points of Spielberg's West Side Story remake was its commitment to authenticity. The original 1961 film had long been criticized for casting white actors in brownface to play Puerto Rican characters. This time, the producers promised they were doing it right. They brought back Rita Moreno, a real Puerto Rican actress, to lend credibility. They emphasized that they were casting Latinx actors in Latinx roles. But Rachel Zegler isn't Puerto Rican. She's half Colombian, half Polish. And when asked about this in interviews, her response was, "Does it matter?" Well, yeah, it kind of does, especially when the entire marketing campaign was built around cultural authenticity. If you're going to hang your hat on representation, you can't shrug off questions about it when they come up. That moment didn't sit well with a lot of people. It felt dismissive. It felt like the studio wanted the credit for representation without actually doing the work. And that was just the beginning. Let's talk about the track record, because for someone who's been positioned as a rising star, Rachel Zegler's filmography reads more like a string of missed opportunities. West Side Story? Critically acclaimed, sure, but it bombed at the box office. $100 million budget, barely $76 million worldwide, not the breakout hit it needed to be. Shazam! Fury of the Gods? Another flop. And Zegler didn't help her case when she admitted on the red carpet that she only did the movie because she needed a job. That's not the kind of thing you say when you're trying to build goodwill with fans. Then there's A24's Y2K. This was supposed to be a quirky, genre-blending horror comedy, but it earned one of the studio's lowest Rotten Tomatoes scores of the year. Critics called it tonally messy, light on laughs, and a largely unfunny extended sketch. Audiences didn't fare much better. And then there's Snow White. This was supposed to be her Disney princess moment, but the film sits at a dismal 39% on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics called it tone-deaf, shallow, and worst of all, boring. And let's be honest, in Hollywood, boring is the kiss of death. So when people say the Backlash is just internet trolls, they're ignoring the fact that mainstream critics, people vetted by Rotten Tomatoes, are saying the same thing. This isn't a fringe opinion, it's a consensus. And here's a question for you. Do you think critics are starting to get more in sync with general audiences again? Or is this just a rare case where both sides agree? Let me know in the comments. I'm curious where you land on that. Now, let's not forget the Golden Globes she won for West Side Story. Now, Golden Globes are nice, but let's be real. They're not the Oscars. The Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which votes on the Globes, is a group of around 90 journalists. Compare that to the Academy's 6,000 plus voting members. The Globes have long had a reputation for being, let's say, influenced. Campaigns, access, and studio pressure go a long way. So while it looked like a major win, it didn't carry the same weight as an Oscar nod. And remember the old adage, you buy a Golden Globe, you win an Oscar. And speaking of awards, let's talk about the Oscars. In 2022, Westside Story was nominated for 7 Academy Awards. Rachel Zegler wasn't personally nominated, but she made headlines when she posted on Instagram that she hadn't been invited to the ceremony. She said she'd be watching in sweatpants and her boyfriend's flannel, or her boyfriend's hoodie, one of those two, I don't remember. But anyway, the post went viral. People were outraged. How could the star of a Best Picture nominee not be invited? But here's the thing. If you're nominated, you're automatically invited. If you're not, and you're not presenting, you're not guaranteed a seat. That's just how award shows work. There are limited seats, and they prioritize nominees, presenters, and industry veterans. But the Academy folded. They invited her to present an award, and just like that, she was on stage at the Oscars. Not because she earned it through a nomination, but because she made enough noise online. Now, I'm not saying that she orchestrated the outrage, but the optics weren't great. It looked like someone who didn't understand how the industry works, and instead of taking it in stride, she made it a public issue. And when the Academy caved, it may have only reinforced the perception that she was being handed things she hadn't earned yet. And that brings us to the bigger issue. Star power isn't just about talent. It's about personality. It's about how you carry yourself. It's about knowing when to speak and when to let the work speak for you. Let's compare that to Beyonce. Back in the Destiny's Child days, Beyonce was very humble, soft-spoken, and focused. She built her brand slowly. Then came the Grammys, the AMAs, the VMAs. She became a diva, but she earned it. She had the hits, she had the cultural impact, she had the receipts. Same with Bette Midler. She's a Broadway legend, a film icon. She can afford to be a diva because she's got the resume to back it up. Rachel Zegler, she hasn't earned that yet. She hasn't had a single breakout hit. Her biggest claim to fame is being discovered by Steven Spielberg. And while that's impressive, it's not enough to sustain a career, especially when your public persona is rubbing people the wrong way. That brings us to the SAG-AFTRA strike. During the height of the labor dispute, Zegler was on the picket line demanding fair pay, which is fair. I will give her credit for that. But the way she said it, not great. She told reporters, if I'm going to stand there 18 hours a day in the dress of an iconic Disney princess, I deserve to be paid for every hour that is streamed online. And if we're being honest, she looked like she was ready to punch the camera. It wasn't a good look. It came off as entitled, especially when the film hadn't even come out yet, and when so many other actors were making their case with grace and clarity. And then there's her recent interview where she said she doesn't choose a quote-unquote victim mindset in response to online hate, that she chooses positivity and light and happiness, which sounds nice, until you remember that she never really addressed how her own behavior contributed to the backlash. It's not just that people were mean online, it's that she gave them ammunition. So where is she now? After Snow White, Zegler pivoted to the stage. She starred as Juliet in a Broadway revival of Romeo and Juliet, which ran at Circle in the Square Theater from 2024 to early 2025. It was a bold, Gen Z-coded production that drew a young crowd and actually did well critically and commercially. She's currently starring as Eva Peron in a West End revival of Evita, where she performs Don't Cry For Me Argentina from a balcony to the street outside the theater. It's a bold staging choice that's drawn both praise and backlash. Some say it's a brilliant way to bring theater to the people. Others say it's unfair to paying audiences who have to watch the performance on a screen inside. And now she's rumored to be in talks to play Maria von Trapp in a Broadway revival of The Sound of Music. That's the role made iconic by Julie Andrews in the 1965 film. And if that casting goes through, it'll be another high-profile attempt to reframe Zegler's image, not as a Hollywood starlet, but as a legitimate stage performer. And honestly, that might be the smartest move she's made yet. Because Broadway is a whole different animal. It's not about box office numbers or social media buzz. It's about showing up 8 times a week, live, no edits, no CGI, no second takes. It's about stamina, discipline, and consistency. And if Zegler can thrive there, if she can win over theatergoers and critics alike, she might just be able to rebuild the trust she lost with film audiences. Now, some people rolled their eyes when she posted after her Tony snub, saying Broadway is quote-unquote not for the faint of heart, and that performers are athletes in their own right. But honestly, I get it. I did theater in high school. My theater teacher was relentless in trying to get me to audition for our school's production of Harvey. Yeah, the same Harvey that most people know from the Jimmy Stewart movie, but it actually started as a Pulitzer Prize-winning stage play back in 1944, for those that don't know. I was terrified of doing live theater, not because of stage fright. I was totally comfortable performing in front of people, but because I knew that if I messed up my lines, I wasn't just messing up for myself. I'd be throwing off my co-star's timing, and if it was a musical, forget it. There are cues for the band, for the sound guy, for lighting. Everybody. Miss your line, and you could derail the entire production. You could even make the director look bad. It's a high-stress environment. There are no second takes. And remember, boys and girls, there's only one shot to make a first impression. So yeah, when Zegler says Broadway isn't for the faint of heart, I believe her. It's not self-congratulatory, it's just true. And if she's choosing to put herself through that kind of pressure night after night, then maybe she's finally doing the work that earns respect. But here's the thing, that respect has to be earned, not assumed, not demanded, and definitely not fast-tracked. Zegler skipped the indies, she skipped the grind, she skipped the awards, she went straight for Beyonce-level diva, straight for Bette Midler-level legacy. But Beyonce earned that attitude. She built it over decades. She won Grammys, she dominated the charts, she became a cultural force. Bette Midler? She conquered Broadway in film. She's got the Tonys, the Emmys, the Golden Globes, despite the fact that Golden Globes aren't really worth shit. But anyway, but either way, she can afford to be a diva. Zegler hasn't earned that yet. Not in film, not in music, not even on stage. At least not yet. But if she starts winning Tonys, if she starts getting Grammy nods for cast recordings or live performances, that changes the conversation. That gives her the credibility to match the confidence. And if you're still not convinced, let me put it another way, through the lens of professional wrestling. If you want a pop culture parallel for Rachel Zegler's Hollywood trajectory, look no further than the WWE. Think of John Cena as the Rachel Zegler that Hollywood wanted her to be, and Roman Reigns as the version the audience actually got. Okay, John Cena built his brand over time. He started as a mid-carder, earned his stripes, and eventually became the face of WWE. He was overexposed, sure, but he had the wins, the charisma, and the crowd connection to back it up. That said, there was a period from 2008 to 2014, it may have started around 2007, when Cena was booed out of the building with chants of "Cena sucks." While he eventually regained favor with some fans, the divide in audience opinion remained a defining feature of his career. Roman Reigns, on the other hand, was anointed early. WWE pushed him hard as the next face of the company, even when fans weren't buying it. He was booed while being booked as a babyface, and even after turning heel and embracing the tribal chief persona, the boos persisted. His 1,316-day title reign was dominant, but the audience's reaction has consistently been polarized throughout his career. Now, apply that lens to Zegler. Like Reigns, Zegler was pushed fast, cast by Spielberg, handed a Golden Globe, and thrust into the spotlight before the audience had a chance to form a genuine connection. The industry said, she's the future, but the public wasn't convinced. And instead of adjusting the narrative, the machine just kept pushing. What Reigns eventually did, reinvent himself, lean into the criticism, and earn his respect, might be the blueprint Zegler needs. Her pivot to Broadway could be her heel turn, not in attitude, but in authenticity. A move away from the Hollywood machine and toward a space where talent speaks louder than PR. Because here's the truth. You can't manufacture charisma. You can't fast-track trust. whether it's wrestling or acting, the audience decides who gets to be the face of the franchise. And if you try to skip that step, they'll let you know. So here's the question I'll leave you with. Is Rachel Zegler a cautionary tale about Hollywood's obsession with instant fame? Or is she just a young actress who got caught in the crossfire of a broken system and might still find redemption on the stage? Let me know what you think in the comments. I want to hear your take. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, drop the code word Overpushed in the comments so I know you're one of the real ones. I'll be down there reading and replying. Until next time, stay sharp, stay skeptical, and remember, the audience always gets the final say.